This video is brought to you by my patrons. Stay tuned until the end or click the link in the description below to... Yeah, you know the drill by now. Howdy folks, I'm Jenny Geist. Let's talk about Elon Musk. Depending on what circles you partake in, Elon Musk is either one of the most beloved figures on the internet or one of the most despised, and if you're currently watching my channel, you probably lean towards the latter. On one hand, he's the cool SpaceX guy who makes electric cars and sends things to the moon and makes epic Reddit memes. Oh my god, he likes to be just like me, that's so relatable, OMG. On the other hand, he inherited his fortune from his father's emerald mine in South Africa, which was purchased from Italian landowners and operated through apartheid, which is something he gladly admitted to in a conveniently delisted Forbes interview, despite his more recent attempts to deny having any sort of generational wealth as a privileged white South African, because how silly would that be? Also, there's the union busting, tax evasion, workplace racism, stock market manipulation, showing up on Joe Rogan, defaming an innocent diver, making cars that explode, making cars that break traffic laws, promoting cryptocurrency while feigning environmental concern, running CO2-intensive space launches while feigning environmental concern, being the richest person in the world and not using any of that wealth to improve the world despite asking for plans to do that and being given plans to do that by the United Nations, and that one really weird time where he posted unsourced fan art and got really pissy when people asked him to link to the original artist. Seriously, what was up with that? Wow, I'm beginning to think this Alan Mellon fellow is a bit of a tool. And despite the many evangelists of his suckling to his every word, I know I am not alone in thinking that. But what's interesting about the 100% deserved Elon Musk backlash is that it is relatively recent. I mean, yeah, he only became the richest person in the world relatively recently, and trying to buy Twitter because people are bullying your tweets and you want to allow misgendering in the TOS will certainly garner some negative attention, but it's easy to forget that he also didn't spring up overnight either. He helped create PayPal in 1998, and Tesla has existed since 2003, so he's been a name in the tech scene for over 2 decades by now. Long enough that in the strange time before people realized he's an objective jackass, we got stuff like a Big Bang Theory cameo, a South Park role, and a Rick and Morty appearance. Wait, that last one's from 2020. They don't have an excuse. Ditto for you, SNL. But perhaps one of the cringiest Musk puff pieces of them all is season 26, episode 12 of the popular television series The Simpsons, aka The Musk Who Fell to Earth. One of the most emblematic portrayals of how deified Elon Musk was by the neoliberal tech scene of the 2010s, and my personal least favorite episode of The Simpsons. And I've seen every episode of The Simpsons. So, I guess we're talking about this today. Yep, that's the topic of the video. I'm sorry. Act 1. Recap. Okay, there's a lot to cover, so I'm gonna keep this brief. The episode begins with Lisa feeding some birds in her birdhouse when a bald eagle swoops in, grabs some poor chicks, and wrecks the structure. The family attempts to capture the eagle, rehabilitate it, and set it free into nature, but right as it's triumphantly flying away, it's burned to a crisp by the flames of Elon Musk's Dragon 2 spacecraft as he lands on the Simpsons' backyard. Lisa geeks out and for some reason doesn't care that he just killed an animal as he subsequently joins the family for dinner, revealing that he's run out of ideas for projects and is now wandering the country looking for inspiration. Homer invites him to tag along to the nuclear power plant, and on the way he pitches typical silly Homer ideas that Elon Musk inexplicably loves and wants to develop, and then once they arrive at the plant, Burns becomes smitten by this young inventor and pitches a partnership.
I don't care about the money. The whole monetary system is just a series of interconnected heterogeneous databases.
The town cheers as Musk begins a plethora of new plans to revitalize Springfield, including the installation of a Hyperloop, self-driving electric cars for the entire town, a new electrical system, and so on, which Smithers is understandably suspicious about. However, the suspicion is conveyed like this.
Musk's ideas sound great. Too great. We're meant for wretched lives. We should pass on this.
At the first quarterly earnings report for this new partnership, though, Musk reveals that these infrastructural changes have cost Burns $50 million, and that this is the price we must all pay for green energy and saving the Earth. Because of the losses, Burns has to lay off a substantial amount of his employees, and Homer, feeling responsible, becomes depressed. Burns apologizes to Smithers for doubting him and says the most relatable line in the episode.
I've made the calls. I'm going to have Elon Musk killed.
Nice. Meanwhile, Homer prepares to break up with Musk so he'll leave Springfield alone. The assassination attempt unfortunately fails as Musk heroically saves Homer's life, and then Homer ends things with his new friend. Musk understands, returns to his spaceship, leaves Lisa a robotic birdhouse in reference to the opening, and tearfully reminisces over Homer while staring into the cosmos and listening to David Bowie's Starman. Of course, not without Lisa trying to stow away with him, tearfully saying that Springfield wasn't ready for his technology, and then ending things off with the only good line in the entire episode.
For a man who likes electric cars, he sure burns a lot of rocket fuel.
And that is the plot of Season 26, Episode 12, The Musk Who Fell to Earth from the popular television series The Simpsons. God, where's Barrett Wallace when you need him?
You gonna stand there and pretend you can't hear the planet crying out in pain? I know you can!
Okay, so before I dive too deep into this rancid creation, I do want to give the Simpsons crew some benefit of the doubt. Elon Musk has the reputation of being a sniveling, dishonest, Reddit-quoting megachurch pastor for atheists now, but like I said, that hasn't always been the case. This episode was released on January 25th, 2015, and I don't want to be that person who looks back on a dated guest appearance with a smug benefit of hindsight and says, well, they should have known that he was bad then too, guys. Like, I'm not gonna shit on the UK episode from 2003 for featuring J.K. Rowling, come on. Circa 2014, Musk was basically just that one guy that nerdy tech bros geeked out about, and I'm sure showrunner Al Jean, director Matthew Nastock, and writer Neil Campbell aren't like approving of apartheid profiteering or union busting or whatever. That said, this episode is still garbage with and without the context of who Musk is, and don't worry, I'm going to break it down in both ways. Act 2. Story bad. Modern Simpsons has the reputation of its celebrity guest appearances completely overtaking the story whenever they pop up, with Season 23's Lisa Goes Gaga, Season 22's A Midsummer's Night's Dream, and literally almost all the Disney Plus shorts being some of the most infamous examples. It's the classic Poochie problem that the show satirized back in Season 8, where this newcomer appears out of nowhere and sucks up all of the characters' attention because, well, they're cool and marketable and important, of course they're worth spending 22 minutes with. When Billie Eilish isn't on screen, characters should be asking, where's Billie Eilish? Not every modern Simpsons guest voice is like this, of course. Kristen Bell, Kerry Washington, and The Weeknd provided some decent work in recent shows, but even I cannot deny that The Simpsons used to be a lot better integrating its guest stars than it is now, whether it's them playing new characters or them playing themselves. This is the first inherent stumbling block of the Musk Who Fell to Earth, because even if you remove the context of Musk's real-world persona, it's essentially just a boring and pointless Shaggy Dog story. Like, let's compare what I just described to Season 3's Stark Raving Dad, aka the Michael Jackson episode, aka its own can of worms that isn't currently relevant to this video. Check out the Real Gems overview of it if you want a deeper dive. And check out his channel in general actually, it's pretty great, I steal a lot of my music cues from him. But Stark Raving Dad works as a standalone episode because it takes a massive star like Michael Jackson, integrates him into an organic Simpsons storyline, and uses the larger-than-life presence to further the episode's themes. Homer's story is about him accidentally being placed into a mental institution for defying societal norms, in this case wearing a pink shirt, and one of the episode's main points is to show that people in this asylum aren't evil or scary, they're just people, victims of circumstance just like Homer. Leon Kompowski is a guy who believes himself to be Michael Jackson, which may sound like an outlandish or inappropriate concept on paper, but there's a degree of humanity in his portrayal. Him sounding like a famous musician may be strange, but he's never anything but kind and supportive to Homer's situation. Instead, the satire derives from how society treats the mentally ill, how there's this harmful stereotype of the crazy person with voices in their head, and how these innocent people are shoved aside and mistreated by the system, with Leon being stuck right in the middle of that. So later, when Homer and Leon's story intersects with Bart and Lisa's conflicts back at home, it works as a resolution of both plotlines. When the rest of the town turns their back on Leon for not being the Michael Jackson they expect, Bart is the first one to give him a chance, and in turn Leon is able to help Bart make a song for Lisa's birthday. Essentially, they brought in a larger-than-life celebrity, casted them into an offbeat role, used their fame as an outlet to talk about a serious issue, and then intersected it with a simple but heartwarming familial story. Meanwhile, the Musk Who Fell to Earth also brings in a huge guest, also makes them the focal point of the episode, and also tries to tie in their involvement into a relevant theme. But it doesn't end up saying anything about society or the characters or even Elon Musk himself. For one, the Simpsons family is basically just a prop in this story. Homer has a very thin character arc where he goes from enjoying Musk's company and adoration to feeling bad about bankrupting the town, but it's barely anything. If you want to see Homer make a difficult decision about whether to stay with a Silicon Valley supervillain or not, just watch You Only Move Twice from Season 8. I hear that one even has some jokes in it. Oh, and Lisa is just the same neoliberal writer mouthpiece that she has been in a lot of the weaker modern episodes, and Bart and Marge might as well not even be in the episode.
Dad, no! Elon Musk is possibly the greatest living inventor!
But hey, there doesn't need to be a complex Simpsons family storyline for an episode to be memorable. Maybe this one wants to be a tighter satirical romp like Sideshow Bob Roberts or the aforementioned You Only Move Twice, just using this setting as an excuse to riff on a certain industry or archetype for 22 minutes. Well, going off of that recap I gave, what do you interpret as the message or satire being conveyed by this episode? Is it that green energy is good for the planet but bad for the economy? That saving the environment is going to require sacrifice that some people aren't willing to put in? Is it what Smithers and Lisa said, that a small backwards town like Springfield isn't prepared for Musk's futurist plans?
This town isn't ready for you, and neither am I.
All three of these Aesops are toyed with throughout the episode, yet all three are inherently incongruous. For starters, Musk's environmental initiatives are presented as economically infeasible and inconvenient for the working class. Burns can't afford the plant anymore, so he lays off most of his employees, which causes Springfield to enter an economic depression that Musk doesn't even seem to care about. All he says is that environmentally friendly infrastructure costs a lot of money with no profit or gain, which is what causes Burns, another megalomaniacal billionaire, to turn on him. However, the town at large also turns on him, not because of lost profits, but because of, again, lost jobs. There's an entire montage that shows how bad things got after Burns had to downsize. All of this would make the sacrifices need to be made for clean energy message not really applicable to this story, because said sacrifice would literally be the lives of the working class. Yet Lisa and Smithers' quotes frame Springfield as not being ready for Musk's technology, which is arguably in favor of that message. It's not like Springfield is opposed on ethical terms either. Characters that aren't even relevant to the story, like Bart, Marge, Kent Brockman, Arnie Pye, Milhouse, and Comic Book Guy, are shown loving his inventions. They just don't like these inventions being installed against their will and then ruining their local economy.
Since Elon Musk gave everyone self-driving cars, there hasn't been a single accident.
You could try arguing that Mr. Burns is the true villain of this episode, as he's a billionaire with cash to burn and doesn't need to put the burden of these initiatives onto his employees, but that angle is not explored at all, and everything else about the episode basically portrays Burns as being on the brink of bankruptcy himself. The back and forth of Musk being a good guy that's too far ahead of Springfield and a bad guy who doesn't care about their economy does not fit in this story at all. I genuinely have no idea what they were going for with it. Act 3. Jokes bad. It may seem like I'm overanalyzing a random season 26 Simpsons episode, and sure, not every Simpsons episode needs to hit us with that biting commentary. Not everything is going to be a Lisa the Vegetarian or Marge on the Lamb. If they wanted to bring in a celebrity to have a complete wacky farce, that'd be fine too. Sure, I used Stark Raving Dad as a positive comparison earlier, but there's plenty of equally excellent examples of guest stars just playing themselves. Homer at the Bat and Krusty Gets Cancelled are two of the show's most beloved episodes for a reason. They take these famous baseball players and celebrities, turn them into exaggerated caricatures of themselves, and watch the sparks fly. Yes, give Mike Scotia a tragic illness, make Don Mattingly shave those distracting sideburns, portray Bette Midler as a crazed environmentalist maniac, shoot Luke Perry into a sandpaper factory. Give these guys something to work off of. So what kind of jokes does Elon Musk have to work off of?
Sorry, that's something I'm working on so that I don't have to display facial expressions.
Huh. Okay. In a Bloomberg interview from around this episode's airing, current Simpsons showrunner Al Jean stated that they tried to avoid making this another kiss-ass guest appearance by including several self-deprecating gags at Musk's expense, and of course having it end with Musk bankrupting the town. Here are the self-deprecating gags in question.
Musk, you tricked me.
Not a trick. We sacrifice now to take care of the future, in a way totally determined by me.
You'll never guess Elon Musk's master password. Musk rules with a Z.
Password verified. Manual control enabled.
Can I ask why?
I could say it's the being shot at, or the flat, emotionless way you talk.
Wow, they did it. The ass remains unkissed. Hooray. Anyway, the rest of the dialogue is shit like this, and just warning, a lot of these are going to be poorly aged.
We're about to meet a being with intelligence far beyond ours. Boy, give me my baseball bat.
His company perfected electric cars and then gave away the patents. He changed the way Hollywood drives.
Sir, you know who that is? The man who's revolutionized the car industry.
Henry Ford, good to see you.
Wow, Elon, you're like Willy Wonka without the underpaid munchkins.
Why, they're always the most beautiful just when they're breaking up with you.
So yeah, it's not very funny. Even by modern Simpsons standards, there's something fascinating about how tentative the jokes are. It's like almost a self-aware kind of unfunny, as if Elon Musk were in the writer's room and they had to wait for his approval after every pitch, and the writers were only brave enough to make extremely vanilla jokes about Musk being smart or antisocial or nerdy. They went for the ending where Springfield hates him, likely in an attempt to replicate the ironic flavor of those earlier guest appearances, like when Luke Perry was shot out of a cannon, but they kept coding it with quips about how Springfield is the backwards one, not him, as if they were afraid of upsetting Daddy Musk. The line at the end where Lisa comments about his rocket fuel is the best joke in the episode, and it's ironically said right as the character leaves earshot, so I admittedly kind of wonder if they pitched this joke right after he left the writer's room also, although on that subject, I should also note that the non-Musk humor doesn't fare much better either. It's a pretty by-the-numbers selection of list jokes, heavily flanderized Mr. Burns stuff, fairly out-of-place Musk inventions, and a pretty typical Al Jean musical montage. Even if Elon Musk was actually an amazing entrepreneur and good person in real life, this would still be one of the least funny episodes. I do like this bit, though.
Without the tyranny of moving parts, using conducting plasma as the moving conductor. Excellent. Clearly the work of Lenny.
In the end, what I find funniest about this episode is that if Elon Musk was a completely fictional character invented for the purposes of this story, he'd almost certainly be the villain. It'd become a story of Lisa realizing that personalities who portray themselves as liberal and environmentally conscious are still self-interested billionaires at the end of the day, almost like a modern and less over-the-top take on Hank Scorpio. That simple change could make the entire episode so much more cohesive. Homer's sudden friendship with Musk could start out as an avenue for Homer and Lisa to bond over a hero, and then shift into a conflict as Lisa realizes Musk is bad for the town, giving the episode a much-needed familial connection. Burns could be an even more pronounced foil to Musk, having very similar goals of profit but not hiding it behind a veneer of progressivism. Maybe they could even have Lisa team up with Burns once they both turn on him, which could tie together the A-plot and B-plot better while also providing a fresh comedic character dynamic. There's interesting, character-driven, satirical ideas that you can get from this plot setup, but since it's being written around a larger-than-life guest star with an image to uphold, they can't do that. So the writer's solution is to make Musk kind of the villain, but also objectively a good guy, and the irony is not lost on anyone. Conclusion. The tag. Get it? Do I think Al Jean and James L. Brooks are fascist sympathizers? No. Do I blame anybody who comes to the conclusion that they are based on this episode's content? What? Yes, that's fucking stupid. It's just a Simpsons episode. Anyway, the Elon Musk backlash is only going to get worse over the next few years, especially after he bought the Bird site, which I'm sure is going to lead to plenty of kooky shenanigans, but with how popular his products are and how much money he has in the reserves, I don't think anything we do can possibly change that. This video's deconstruction of a bad sitcom episode is probably going to have about as much effect as a grain of sand hitting the Great Wall of China, and in fairness, I would say the same applies to the Musk who fell to Earth itself. Looking back, Musk hopped onto the electric car bandwagon right as environmental concerns were becoming more apparent, so of course Wall Street and Silicon Valley were going to be enamored by him, no matter how many silly Twitter conflicts or human rights atrocities or calling a guy a pedophile for no reasons he commits. This episode was released in 2015 before several of those scandals happened or became widely known about, and I don't want to demonize the Simpsons crew too much for getting invested in this random sniveling tech bro. It was 2015, we were still within the Obama administration, the peak of neoliberal comfort within the system. I don't think it's a coincidence that most of the pop culture Musk shillings happened around this time, because the idea of a good billionaire sounded a lot less nonsensical in a pre-Trump, pre-COVID, pre-everything reality. The Musk who fell to Earth just happens to be one of the most painfully emblematic examples of this. I do not think The Simpsons in 2022 would try to do this episode. Also, for everyone saying that Musk paid them to make this episode, as far as I can tell, that is unequivocally false, as funny as it would be. However, especially after that disastrous SNL showing last year, I really hope these types of pop culture artifacts praising the richest man in the world for a completely fabricated public image actually start dying down for real this time. Not because they're like brainwashing the masses or anything, I think most people can see through shit like this, especially from a modern Simpsons episode of all things, but more so because they're just bad.
Elon Tusk, listen, we need your help.
Ha 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 Like I said, The Musk Who Fell to Earth is one of my least favorite episodes of The Simpsons, partially because it features a billionaire that I hate, but partially because it's a downright nothing experience. It doesn't try to do anything new with these characters, it doesn't use a celebrity guest to say anything compelling, and it doesn't have any of the aspects that make me love The Simpsons as a series. Most of all, it's an artifact of an era where billionaires were not yet considered gauche, and after finishing this video, I'm probably never going to watch it again. Wait a second. His name is Elon Tusk because it rhymes with Elon Musk. Holy fuck! Shit, this is the cleverest thing anyone has ever written. I am going to laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and consider donating to my Patreon. For as low as $3 to $5 a month, you can get an amazing set of perks including early access to new videos, your name listed in the credits, monthly behind-the-scenes blog posts, and an exclusive Discord server. The more support I get, the more time I can dedicate to the channel to make video essays like these, so be sure to click the link in the description below or go to patreon.com/JennyGeist. Today I'll be giving a shout out to my patrons at the producer tier and above, those being Ace L, Fusefall, Kitty Kong Fax, Oski, Sarah Richfield, Simon Welsh, and Vincent Coates. Even if you can't donate though, liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing are all still immensely helpful to me, and it means the world. With that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later.